Marvel just did something nobody expected. Instead of saving their biggest surprise for San Diego Comic-Con, they quietly flew across the world and revealed the very first official look at Avengers: Doomsday in Shanghai. No trailer, no cast panel, just one image, but that single image may have confirmed months of leaks, hinted at Spider-Man's future, teased Doctor Doom's role, and even revealed when Marvel is finally ready to show us the first trailer. And somehow, that's not even the craziest part, because Kevin Feige himself also dropped a subtle clue that could completely change what happens before Avengers. Doomsday even begins. Let's break down everything. Marvel has been unusually quiet about Avengers: Doomsday. For months, fans have been surviving on rumors, leaked concept art, and insider reports with almost nothing official to back them up. So when Shanghai Comic-Con announced a special Marvel presentation, most people expected a simple promotional appearance, maybe a few posters, maybe some merchandise. Nobody seriously believed Kevin Feige would actually show up, but he did, and that alone made the event feel much bigger than anyone expected. Instead of waiting for Marvel's traditional Comic-Con presentation in San Diego, Marvel decided to begin promoting their biggest movie internationally first. That says a lot. It almost feels like Marvel wants to build global momentum before bringing the real fireworks home. And honestly, that's a pretty smart strategy. I was expecting something similar to Marvel's previous London event, maybe another small reveal. A few interviews, nothing major, but surprisingly, they actually revealed the first official concept artwork for Avengers: Doomsday. Is it the greatest concept art Marvel has ever released? Not really. In fact, it actually looks surprisingly unfinished. But the fact that Marvel officially showed it changes everything, because once Marvel acknowledges an official design, suddenly, every old leak starts looking a lot more believable. We'll dive into every single character in that artwork in a moment, because there are a lot of interesting details hiding inside it. But before that, Kevin Feige casually dropped another massive hint. During the event, a fan dressed as Yelena Belova caught Kevin Feige's attention, and his response immediately got Marvel fans talking. He basically said, "If you're a fan of Yelena, wait until Avengers: Doomsday. She plays a big role there, but if you don't want to wait that long, you'll probably see her much sooner." That single sentence raises a very interesting question. What movie comes before Avengers: Doomsday? The obvious answer? Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Yes, there are Disney Plus projects like Vision Quest arriving first, but Kevin specifically mentioned seeing Yelena in a movie, not a series, a movie, and suddenly, those old rumors about Yelena appearing alongside Spider-Man don't sound so crazy anymore. Think about it. Spider-Man is about to face one of the biggest threats of his career. Rumors have been pointing toward an intense Hulk conflict. Sony has already been pushing TV spots that reveal way more than fans expected. It's honestly funny, there was a time when fans were begging Sony to release even a tiny trailer. Now, they're practically showing entire action sequences through TV spots. Classic Sony. One day they reveal nothing. The next day they reveal almost everything. We'll save that discussion for another video, but if Spider-Man really finds himself in a situation that's bigger than he can handle, Yelena stepping in as a representative of the new Avengers actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe she's sent to recruit him, maybe she's there to protect him, or maybe she's investigating the exact same threat. Whatever Marvel has planned, Kevin Feige definitely wanted fans thinking about Spider-Man after hearing that statement, and I don't think that was an accident. Now let's get back to the biggest reveal of the event, that official Avengers Doomsday concept art. For the very first time, we finally have an official look at how many of these heroes could appear inside the movie, their costumes, their team placements, their overall designs. And while nothing here should be treated as final, this is still our first real official glimpse into Marvel's vision. What's fascinating is that almost everything shown here had already leaked months ago. Back then, most people dismissed those leaks. Now, Marvel has accidentally given those leaks a whole lot more credibility. And that's both exciting and a little dangerous, because if too many of those leaks end up being real, Avengers: Doomsday could lose a lot of its biggest surprises before the movie even releases. So from this point forward, it's probably a good idea to be careful around new leaks, because we may be getting closer to the truth than anyone expected. But here's something else that immediately stood out. The artwork doesn't actually feel finished. Some characters almost look like placeholder renders, others feel like they've been quickly dropped into the scene without final polish, and there may be a reason for that. The concept art was created by longtime Marvel concept artist Anthony Francisco, one of the artists who helped shape the MCU from its earliest days. Recent reports suggest this may have been one of his final Marvel projects before leaving the studio. If that's true, it could explain why this artwork feels more like an early development piece than a polished promotional poster. It's still incredibly exciting to see, but you can definitely tell this isn't the final version Marvel wants fans to remember. And once you start looking closely, the individual character designs become even more interesting. Now let's zoom in. Because once you stop looking at the artwork as one giant poster and start analyzing each character individually, Marvel may have quietly revealed far more than they intended. Let's go from left to right. The very first character we see is Sentry, but something immediately feels off. This doesn't look like the fully powered Sentry fans were expecting. Instead, he appears much closer to his human form. That raises a huge question. Is Marvel deliberately hiding his final transformation, or has this artwork simply been created before his complete design was finalized? Either way, his render honestly looks unfinished, almost like someone quickly placed him into the composition before everything was polished, which only adds more weight to the idea that this concept art was never meant to be the final promotional image. Standing nearby, we have John Walker, Ghost, Yelena Belova, Winter Soldier, and right in the middle, Red Guardian. Out of everyone here, Red Guardian seems to have received the most noticeable costume update. If you've seen the leaked set photos, you've probably noticed the brighter white and red version of his suit, and that's exactly what this artwork seems to be referencing. What's interesting is that this design wasn't introduced randomly. Marvel actually teased it during the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. Technically, that sequence was directed by the Russo brothers themselves, which means that ending wasn't just setting up Thunderbolts, it was quietly setting up Avengers, Doomsday. In other words, that final Thunderbolts scene may already belong to the opening chapters of this movie. And if that's true, then most of these costume designs are probably already locked in. The only real mystery here is Sentry. Will Marvel eventually reveal the classic golden suit, or will they keep him grounded until much later in the film? We'll have to wait and see. Then we move over to Ant-Man. One thing immediately stands out. Where's Wasp? She's nowhere to be seen. That obviously doesn't confirm anything, but based on this artwork, it definitely feels like Scott Lang could be the only Ant family member participating in the main story. His suit also looks slightly updated compared to Quantumania. Nothing dramatic, just enough changes to suggest Marvel has given nearly every returning hero a subtle visual upgrade. Above him stands the god of thunder himself, Thor, and honestly, this look feels very familiar. We've already seen something similar in early promotional material, so there's a good chance this remains his primary costume throughout most of the film. Personally, I was hoping Marvel would finally bring back Thor's longer hair. It fits the mythological version of the character so well. The shorter Ragnarok-inspired style still works, but the classic look simply carries more presence. One detail that really caught my attention is his lightning. Instead of the traditional blue energy, the artwork uses a much warmer orange glow. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe it's simply another unfinished visual effect. But if it stays orange in the final movie, that would definitely be an interesting change. Now here's something fans are already joking about. When Avengers Doomsday finally hits theaters, I honestly think thousands of people are going to cosplay as Captain America. It's probably going to become the easiest Marvel cosplay ever. Black shirt, khaki pants, done. I'm not even kidding. I might actually do it myself. Sure, I don't have Steve Rogers' muscles, but I can definitely carry the hammer. Speaking of which, look closely. Steve Rogers appears to be holding the broken Mjolnir, not the shield, the hammer. That immediately connects to one of the biggest rumors surrounding this movie. The rumor that Steve Rogers could return, possibly even connected to the Captain Hydra storyline in some way. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But what really caught my attention is Steve's position. He's standing front and center. Almost every other major hero here has been active throughout the multiverse saga. Steve hasn't. The last time we truly saw his story conclude was at the end of Avengers Endgame. Yet somehow, Marvel places him at the emotional center of this entire composition. That's not something you do by accident. Multiple insiders have claimed Steve Rogers could become the emotional heart of Avengers Doomsday. And honestly, this artwork only makes that rumor feel more believable. Then, our eyes immediately land on Doctor Doom, and finally, Marvel has given us our first official look at his mask. This design is fantastic. It clearly pulls inspiration from the comics, while still feeling grounded enough for the MCU. The sharp lines, the intimidating proportions, everything about it screams Victor Von Doom. According to several reports, Doom reportedly spends nearly 90% of the movie wearing the mask, if that's true. Robert Downey Jr.'s actual face may only appear during the opening and closing portions of the film. Even more interesting, rumors claim Marvel has digitally altered his voice. Instead of sounding like Tony Stark, he'll have a completely unique vocal performance. Think about Batman. Bruce Wayne and Batman sound like two completely different people. Marvel may be trying something very similar with Doctor Doom, and honestly, that's exactly what they should do. If audiences constantly hear Tony Stark, the illusion breaks. Doctor Doom needs to feel like an entirely different person, and based on everything we're hearing, that's exactly what Marvel is trying to accomplish. The biggest mystery now is what's hiding underneath that mask. Reports suggest Doom's face is heavily scarred, which could explain why Marvel still refuses to reveal it. Showing only the mask keeps that mystery alive. And personally, I think that's the right decision. Then tucked away almost in the background is God Loki. He's surprisingly small in the artwork, almost hidden, but don't let that fool you. Rumors suggest Loki could play one of the biggest roles in the entire movie. In the original comics, Doctor Doom steals unimaginable power from the Beyonders. The MCU may completely rewrite that storyline. Instead of the Beyonders, Marvel could have Doom target God Loki, using the God of Stories as the source of his ultimate power. If that's true, Loki becomes one of the most important characters in the multiverse saga. It's a fascinating theory, although I do wish Marvel had made him easier to spot. He almost blends into the background. Again, another sign this artwork probably wasn't fully finished. And then we reach the X-Men, finally. Cyclops stands proudly at the center, and honestly, Marvel absolutely nailed this design. It's incredibly comic accurate while still feeling cinematic. I even noticed subtle elements that reminded me of the original Fox X-Men costumes, almost like Marvel is paying tribute while still moving forward. This is easily one of my favorite looks in the entire artwork. After seeing what X-Men 97 accomplished, my expectations for Cyclops have never been higher. Hopefully, the movie delivers the same level of leadership and intensity. Next to him, we see Beast. Gone is the scientist wearing the lab coat. This version looks built for battle. Much more muscular, much more intimidating, and honestly, I love it. Magneto also receives a cleaner, more comic-inspired design. At first glance, I thought the costume was leather, but it actually appears much more streamlined than that. Simple, elegant, comic accurate, exactly what Magneto needed. Professor X, on the other hand, is the one design I'm still not completely sold on. The black suit isn't bad, it just doesn't immediately feel like Professor X to me. Maybe it'll look much better once we actually see it in motion. Right now, it's simply okay, not amazing, not terrible. Just okay. Continuing through the X-Men lineup, Nightcrawler immediately caught my attention. For months, leaked set photos hinted that he'd be sporting white hair. At first, I assumed that was either unfinished makeup or just bad lighting. But now, the official concept art confirms it. Marvel actually gave Nightcrawler white hair. Maybe it's meant to show his age. Maybe it's connected to the version of the multiverse we're visiting. Whatever the reason, I'm still not completely convinced. His classic blue and black look has always been iconic, and this new color combination feels a little unusual. That said, concept art doesn't always tell the full story. Sometimes a design looks completely different once it's brought to life on screen, so I'll save my final judgment until we actually see him in action. Right next to him, we have Mystique. Compared to previous live-action versions, this design feels much more practical. Instead of relying entirely on heavy body paint, it looks like Marvel has combined makeup with a full-body suit. Honestly, that's probably the smarter choice. Not only is it easier for the actress, but it also allows for much longer filming days. I do think the hairstyle could have been a little stronger, but overall, the design works. The real question is how Marvel plans to handle her shape-shifting. Will they stick with the traditional morphing effects, or introduce something completely new? That's something we'll have to wait and see. Then there's Gambit. After Deadpool and Wolverine, fans instantly fell in love with him. But here's the interesting part. That movie leaned heavily into comedy. Rumors suggest Avengers Doomsday may take Gambit in a much more serious direction. Personally, I think that's the right move. If Marvel keeps him as pure comic relief, the emotional impact won't be nearly as strong. A darker, more confident Gambit could easily become one of the breakout characters of this film. And remember, one of the deleted scenes from Deadpool and Wolverine reportedly showed Gambit escaping the void through a sling ring portal. If that's still canon, someone had to open that portal. Which naturally brings us to one very important question. Where is Doctor Strange? Because if the multiverse is literally collapsing, Doctor Strange should be one of the most important players in this entire story. Yet, He's nowhere to be seen in this concept art. Honestly, this is one of my biggest concerns. It almost feels like Doctor Strange 3 should have happened before Avengers Doomsday. That would have naturally explained everything Strange and Clee have been doing since the end of Multiverse of Madness. Hopefully, Marvel addresses that inside the movie. Otherwise, fans are going to have a lot of questions. Another surprise? No Deadpool, no Wolverine, at least not here. That doesn't mean they won't appear. This artwork only includes characters Marvel wanted to reveal publicly. I'd still be shocked if Avengers Doomsday didn't include several massive surprise cameos. Marvel knows exactly how important those moments are. Now let's move over to the Fantastic Four. Thankfully, their costumes remain almost identical to what we saw in Fantastic Four First Steps. The only obvious difference is the addition of jackets. 3 members are wearing them. The Thing isn't, which honestly makes perfect sense. He's literally made of rock. He probably doesn't need one. But why add jackets at all? One possibility is that the team travels somewhere with an extremely cold environment. That actually lines up with earlier behind-the-scenes footage shared by Anthony Mackie, where filming appeared to take place in a snowy location. If that's connected, these jackets could simply be cold weather gear, or they could serve an even bigger purpose. Some fans believe the team may be searching for Wanda Maximoff near the mountain where she seemingly died in Multiverse of Madness. Maybe they're looking for Darkhold-related secrets. Maybe they're searching for Wanda herself. Right now, it's only speculation, but it definitely fits what we've seen so far. Moving further across, we see Sam Wilson's Falcon, and I'll be honest, I actually preferred his white suit from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It looked more heroic, more unique. This new design feels much more tactical. It's not bad, it just doesn't immediately give me that classic Captain America energy. Maybe it'll grow on me once we see it in action. Right now, I still lean toward the previous design. Shang-Chi also appears with the 10 rings. His costume has received a few subtle upgrades, including a redesigned belt and small adjustments throughout the outfit. Nothing major, just enough to show that Marvel hasn't forgotten about him. That said, his render is another one that feels strangely unfinished, almost like it was quickly placed into the artwork, which again reinforces the idea that this image was released much earlier than Marvel originally intended. Down below, we also see Shuri and M'Baku. Shuri's Black Panther suit looks slightly upgraded. It almost feels like Wakandan technology has evolved even further, possibly incorporating more Talocan-inspired elements after the events of Wakanda Forever. One person who's noticeably missing, though, is Namor. Seriously, where is Namor? It feels strange not seeing one of the MCU's most powerful characters included here. Maybe Marvel is deliberately hiding him, or maybe they're simply saving him for a later reveal. Either way, his absence definitely stands out. Now let's talk about what everyone is really waiting for, the trailer. According to multiple reports, Marvel is expected to showcase the first Avengers Doomsday trailer during San Diego Comic-Con on July 25th. Some insiders even claim attendees will see it first, with the online release arriving roughly an hour later. Will that actually happen? Maybe. Or maybe Marvel decides to keep it exclusive to Hall H and make the rest of us wait even longer. At this point, nothing would surprise me. But there's another rumor that honestly concerns me much more. Several insiders, including John Campea, have suggested Marvel is currently dealing with editing issues behind the scenes. Not reshoots because the movie is unfinished, but because certain sequences reportedly aren't fitting together the way the studio expected. If that's true, it could explain why additional filming has continued even after principal photography wrapped. Hopefully, this is just normal post-production refinement, because Avengers Doomsday isn't just another Marvel movie. This is supposed to be the biggest cinematic event of the multiverse saga. Rushing something on this scale would be a huge mistake. And honestly, even this concept art feels like it was released before it was completely ready. Let's just hope the movie gets the extra time it needs. Marvel has an enormous challenge ahead. Spider-Man. Brand new day is right around the corner. Dune is building momentum with multiple trailers already released. Meanwhile, Marvel is still playing the waiting game. Maybe they're protecting spoilers, maybe they're building anticipation, or maybe they're simply waiting for the perfect moment. If the current rumors are true, July 25th could finally answer all of our questions. So now I want to hear from you. What was the biggest surprise in this concept art? Did Doctor Doom's mask live up to your expectations? Do you think Yelena is really heading to Spider-Man brand new day before Avengers Doomsday? And which character redesign impressed you the most? Drop your theories in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more Marvel deep dives, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.